Understanding how many units an ASIN sells per month is absolutely crucial in this Amazon business, especially if you're doing wholesale or online arbitrage where you're attaching yourself to branded products with competition. Knowing how many units sells is very important because your product could have 1,000 or 2,000% ROI and it still won't matter if it's not making any sales. Knowing the numbers, knowing which stat and data point to look at, because sometimes you might need to look at a different data point. We're going to go through some examples in this video of what you need to look out for and how you can understand how many units you can sell considering your competition. Let's jump in. There are three main data points that Amazon displays on the listings for us, which helps us understand the sales estimate. The first one is the bought in the past month. The second one is the sales rank or the BSR. And the third one, how many ratings or reviews the actual ASIN gets. So this one over here. Now, I'm not going to dive into them too much because I'm assuming that most sellers here understand how they work and how they operate. So I'm going to go into how you can actually use them to fully understand how many units an ASIN might sell. So just looking at a few examples here. So this one has 1,000 bought in the past month. That could mean anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 in this scenario. The BSR, that's the current BSR 22,913, not the average BSR. We like to use tools like Keepa and Astro that helps us understand, average numbers. So the average over the last 30 days, 90 days, 180 days, and all those types of things. Very important to understand the average, not the current. The current rank isn't too important. The average is much, much more important. And finally, you can also see the ratings and the reviews. If those numbers are constantly going up, that means the product's being purchased often. So let's look at a few more examples. Let's go to this ASIN. This one has 500 bought in the past month, and we can scroll down to the product details, and we can see that it has 5,777 in automotive at the moment. Let's go to another one. This one has only 50 bought in the past month. That means it sells anywhere between 50 units and 100 units. It only has 134 reviews, so it doesn't sell that much. If we scroll down to the product details, we can see that it has 121,000 in beauty and personal care. Let's go to the next one. This one has no bought in the past month, so that means it's below 50 sales no matter what. Now, if we scroll down, we can see that it has a 582,885 in beauty and personal care. Not a good sales rank, and the reviews, only 27 reviews. Let's head over to Astro now so we can see things much clearer. So every row in Astro signifies a new ASIN, and all the data points are listed within the ASIN, and you can see every single thing you need here. So this list has 9,000 products. Let's filter it down just to see a few of the better ones. So I'm going to apply these filters here. So we just filtered for products that have no IP alerts, so they're basically safe to sell. No hazmat products, no product where Amazon is in the buy box. Sales estimate to be more than 10. Now the sales estimate is Astro specific. It comes up with the best types of sales estimate from all the data points that you need. ROI to be more than 30% and profit more than $3. The awesome thing about working on Astro is that you don't need to visit the actual Amazon listing anymore. You can just see all the data points here. You can see images, product details are all here, the calculator, the profit calculation, your chart data with a break-even line, all the offers and all these types of data points over here. You can see every single seller, their pricing, their ratings, their status, if they're FBA, what percentage of the buy box that they've won, and more data everywhere. So that's why I like looking at it here, because it's much, much faster. And you can see that for all the ASINs that you're looking at. So right now we're looking at 656 ASINs. We filtered down from 7,000. So let's start focusing on the sales rank. When I hover over the sales rank column, I can see all the data points that are regarding the sales volume of the given ASIN. For example, this one here is 219,000 in health and household. There's no bought in the last 30 days. I can see the BSR, the average of the 30, 90, and 108 day average, and I can see the drops, how many times the BSR actually drops per month. When it comes to actually understanding which data point to view, the most accurate one in 95% of the cases is the bought in the last 30 days. If there's a figure in the bought in the last 30 days or the bought in the past month, that is probably the most accurate reading that you can use to understand the sales estimate. So this one here, for example, it says 50. That means the bought in the last 30 days is 50. That means 50 to 100, 50 plus, remember. So this one probably sells between 50 and 100 sales per month. It's very accurate. The times where it's inaccurate is when the BSR and the bought in the past month just doesn't mesh. So you might see some scenarios where an ASIN might have 700 sales per month in the bought in the past month, but the BSR is all the way up high at 800,000. That doesn't mesh. That is quite wrong. That's basically Amazon giving you an incorrect number. Some type of mistake happened and Amazon's giving you a wildly incorrect number. So if you see a very high bought in the past month and a very high BSR, that means something's wrong. It doesn't make sense. But in most cases, it's usually right. For example, let's look at this one here. It says 100 and it's 63,000 in beauty and personal care. Those numbers mesh together. Those look accurate. So in those scenarios, it's quite accurate. Now, the good thing is about the bought in the past month is that it's also very accurate even when an ASIN is part of a variation set. So if we go and start looking for some ASINs that are part of variations, for example, these ones here, you see, this one has 50 sales in the past month and the BSI is 38,866. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this variation viewer and see what type of data points we're going to get. We can see that the 6-pack is listed at $19.59 and it gets 100 sales per month, while the 2-pack is listed at $10 and it gets 50 sales per month. We can also see the 5-pack gets 0 sales per month according to the bought in the past month. So that means anywhere between 0 and 50 sales. We're not too sure. But it's listed at $21.60. And you can see that it's understandable that it gets less sales than the 6-pack because it's cheaper. The 6-pack is cheaper. It's $2 cheaper and you're getting an extra unit. So it's understandable that it will get less sales. So what should we look for when there's no bought in the past month? That means it definitely gets less than 50 sales per month if there's no bought in the past month. Your best bet is to look at the drops. In these low sales volume ASINs, after the bought in the past month, the best way to understand how many units it sells is by looking at the drops, the BSR drops in the last month. So if I just go to this ASINs here, this chart, we can see all the times the BSR drop, basically all the times the green line drops. Everyone in this scenario, every single drop in the low sales volume scenario is a single sale. So let's go over and check out the last month. So here we see the monthly drops. We can see every time it dropped is likely one sale. That's how it works in these scenarios, except if it's part of a variation set. All the ASINs in the variation set share those sales. So that's when it kind of gets skewed. So if you see a product that has a bought in the past month and it's part of a variation set, its bought in the past month is very accurate. If there's no bought in the past month and we're getting a sales deficit based on the drops, that number is usually divided amongst all the other ASINs in the variation set. So it gets a bit complicated. So if you're looking at a product that has very few sales and it's part of a variation set, be very skeptical about how many sales it actually gets. By heading over here to the sales per month column, you get a very accurate reading of which data point you need to be looking at. So if there's a bought in the past month, for example, like this one, you understand that the 200 is very accurate. Even when there are variations, it's very accurate. So you can see all these numbers over here. Now, if there's no bought in the past month, it will interpret the sales drops as your estimate. So it will have an interpretation of what the sales drops have been for the last year, and it will give you an accurate reading of how many units the ASIN is selling. But if it's part of a variation set, you need to be a bit more skeptical. When we're looking at this one here, we're seeing that it has a bought in the past month of 50. That is 50 even though there is part of a variation set. But if you have one like this, where it's 25, for example, because it's interpreting the sales drop data, that is skewed amongst the variations within that listing. So it's very important to understand how that kind of works out. The bought in the past month is the most accurate reading, even when it's part of variations. If there's just a sales estimate based on the sales drops, that means it can be skewed amongst the variation set. So if there's 20 in the variation set, it might mean that each one sells like 1 or 2 units each, or it might mean that one might dominate all the sales and the other ones might get 0, for example. Astro takes things one step further and it tells you how many units you should be buying considering your competition. So if we head over to the competition column, you can see a few data points. For example, it tells you how many FBA and FBM sellers there are. It tells you who's in the buy box and who is the buy box contender, how many buy box competitors there actually are. So who is a buy box contender? It's anyone that's in the buy box or people that are within 3% of the buy box in terms of the buy box price. So this ASIN, for example, there are 2 FBA competitors, there are 2 FBA sellers, but only one of them is a contender, the person who's in the buy box. Because most likely the other FBA seller is priced well above. And you can see that right there. The buy box contender is VitaCare at $9.99. And we can see Office Basics & Co. at $11.48. That's more than 3% above the buy box. So they're not a buy box contender. The only buy box contender is the person who is currently in the buy box, and that's VitaCare. So based on that fact that it sells 100 units a month, and there's one buy box contender, the recommendation is to buy 50. But it goes one step further. Let's say, for example, I decide that I'm going to price under them. I'm going to price at $9 instead of $9.99. So I'm going to type 9 here. I'm going to override the buy box. All of a sudden, I have no buy box competition. The contenders became 0 because I, at that price, can pretty much sell all the ASINs that I want to sell. So the recommendation now changed to 100. Let's go down and see a few more examples of this. This one here, for example, it says 4 FBA sellers and 12 FBM sellers. 2 of them are within buy box contention. Let's go ahead and check out the chart and all the offer data for this one. So we see that there are quite a few sellers on this ASIN. We see this person here at $13.75, $13.78. Those are the 2 buy box contenders. The person in the buy box gets that yellow shade. The person, any other contender gets a blue shade. And we can see there are more FBA sellers here. Let me just sort it by FBA and FBM. So we can see that these 2 are the buy box contenders and these 1, 2 are not because they're priced too high. Now, if I decided to price at, let's say, $14.99, then you'll likely see that there are going to be 3 competitors on this ASIN. So let's go ahead and just change the price to like $15. I'm going to head over here. $15. I'm going to head over here and we can see that there are 3 buy box contenders, and the recommendation, instead of me, saying to buy whatever it was, 200 units or 100 units, the recommendation is to buy 75 units now. But if I decide that I'm going to price less than the person that's currently in the buy box, I'm going to price it, let's say at $13.10. All of a sudden, I'm by myself because I don't have any buy box competition. I'm by myself, and the recommendation is to buy all 300 units if I decide to buy that. So that's the way the buy box and the recommendations actually work. It's depending on your price and how much competition there is, it gives you a recommendation of how many units you should be buying. So now that we have this list, let's go ahead and try to make a purchase order with this. So I'm going to go a bit heavier on the filtering. I'm going to just come up with some of the better products. I'm going to say, show me products that sell more than 30 units a month and give me a bit more profit. Let's go for products that have more than $5. This one clearly is a 4-pack, but it's listed as a 1-pack from Amazon, so we have to change this number to a 4-pack. I'm going to go ahead and adjust some of these numbers, and we're going to go ahead and do a purchase order from these products. There are literally hundreds of ASINs that I can choose from this list. I went through a few of them, so I'm going to choose some of the best from the first couple pages. After going through the, adjusting the multi-packs and all that. So I'm going to choose this one, and let's see what else is profitable. This one. That's a 2-pack. Let's remove this one. Okay. Just grab a few more of these. Just checking out the sizing and all these things. Make sure they're accurate. This one here is a 2-pack. No, not enough profit. Now I'm going to add these to a shortlist. I'm not going to go through all 263 of the winners. I'm just going to add a shortlist. I'm just going to call it example. Let's create this shortlist. And let's go ahead and enter that shortlist now. All right, so let's start forming a purchase order out of all these ASINs. So this first one here is a 5-pack. We can see that. This one here was part of that variation set. If you remember, we saw that earlier. The recommendation from the variation set, this one sells 100 units, this one sells 50 units. There are no FBA sellers, so we can pretty much dominate this as an FBA seller, but there's no clear indication. We do have a sales per month estimate for this, but it's skewed amongst all the variations, so we don't really know how much this one sells. On an ASIN like this, I wouldn't buy more than 10 or 12 units. I'd buy 12 just to test it out and see how that goes. So we're buying 12 ASIN units, but because it's a 5-pack, it ends up being 60 supply units. It's going to cost us $48, and the profit is actually quite high. It's 131% on this one, so that's a good one. Next one, this is a 2-pack. Now, there are 6 FBA sellers. The bought in the past month tells us that it's 50. Now, I can see how many are in buy box concession. There are 3. So I can try and price lower than these guys and try to get, as many sales as I can. If I price at $17, I'm making 34% ROI at $2.22 worth of profit. And I can maybe, get pretty much 50 sales a month. In these scenarios, usually I'll probably buy around 36 units, not too many, something like that. 36 units of this one. Check out the next one. It's a 2-pack. 35% ROI. There's an FBM seller in the buy box. Let's go ahead and check out the chart for a second. So we can see an FBM seller in the buy box at $16.99 and an FBA seller at $20.24. So what I'd like to do in these scenarios is just price a bit above the FBM seller. I'll probably still win the buy box, but below the FBA seller. I don't want to go too high and start sharing the buy box with this seller. So I'd probably price it around $17.99, maybe $18.99 for this scenario. So I'm just going to override the buy box price and say $18.99. I'll still get the majority of the sales. The recommendation is still to buy 50 units. So I'll probably go ahead and buy another 36. I usually buy less than the recommendation just to test it out. If sales are good after this initial test order, I go ahead and buy heaps. So this next one has 200 sales per month. We're looking at all the data points. There's an FBM seller again in the buy box. Let's check out the chart. So there's an FBM seller at $32.88 and two FBA sellers at $35 and $38. They're not winning the buy box. So again, same scenario. I like to price a bit above the FBM seller and a bit below the FBA sellers. So I'd probably price it around $33.99 or maybe $34, $34.50. I'll probably win the buy box, getting more profit from this one. It's a 24 pack. So in terms of how many I should be buying, there's pretty much no competition because I'll probably be beating the FBM seller, be pricing above the FBM seller, but below the FBA sellers. I'd probably go ahead and buy around 120 of these ones. Our orders continuing to form. We have 204 ASIN units, 3,084 supply units because this one here is heaps. This is a 24 pack and we're buying 120 of them. So we're buying 2,880 units of that one just to meet the 24 pack. And let's keep going with this one. This is a 1 pack. There's a bit of profit in it. Let's just check it out. Check out the chart. One FBM seller in the buy box at $24.88. Everyone else is priced way above. This seller here is probably back ordered. That's why he's cheap and not winning the buy box. So let's go ahead and close that. $25.50. I'll probably price it at around $26.99 and still probably win the buy box. There's no FBA sellers. On this one, 0 FBA sellers. I'll probably go ahead and buy 240 units of these ones. Let's keep going. This is a 6 pack. Recommendation is sales per month is 50. Recommendation is to buy 50 because an FBM seller in the buy box. Let's just go ahead and buy 36 of these. This one here, the recommendation is to buy 25. There's one FBA seller in the buy box at $14.99. So in that scenario, let's just quickly check out the chart data. Have a great day. I'm not too sure if you want to be going up against them, but let's just assume we are. $14.99. So let's say for this one, we'll probably buy 24 units and share the buy box with them. Lastly, what do we have here? On its own, 17 sales per month. There's quite a bit of profit. Maybe we can price a bit lower and dominate the buy box. Maybe price at $20.99. The sales estimate, like the recommendation, will probably increase to 50. Let's go ahead and just say we're going to buy 36 for this. Lastly, Clear Eyes, the 2 pack. No sellers at all. No one in the buy box at all at the moment. So that's why the BSR has gone up quite a bit. Check out the data. So there's no sellers at all in this one, and we can see all the data points here. You see that how it's kind of behaving, and the rank's really jumping up. It jumped down over here when someone jumped in the buy box, and then it just popped back up. So on a product like this, I'll probably go from the sales estimate, maybe buy a bit more because it probably sells a bit more. Actually, maybe 36 would be fine. Okay, so we just formed an order now. So this is a small order, $4,858 worth of goods, and quite a bit of profit on this one. So that's how fast we came up with an order. Obviously, we only looked at the first 30 within that list of 250 products. If we went through the whole thing, maybe we might have come up with a $20,000, $25,000 order, but that's enough in this scenario. Just to go over all this stuff again, the bought in the past month is probably the most accurate reading that you'll get in terms of the sales volume. It's right in probably over 95% of the cases. It's wrong when you see that the bought in the past month and the BSR just don't mesh. If you have a high bought in the past month, like 500 or 600, but the BSR is like up in the 500,000 or a million, you know that it's inaccurate and you should probably be looking at the BSR in that case. But in most cases, the bought in the past month is right. Even when an ASIN is part of a variation set, the bought in the past month shows you the most accurate data. If there's no bought in the past month, it means that the product sells less than 50 units per month. And in those scenarios, you should probably be looking at the sales drops. Now, you can interpret the sales drops any way you want. You can look at the last 12 months and divide that by 12. You can look at the last month. You can see when someone was in the buy box, because there are periods where there's no one in the buy box, and you shouldn't be looking at the drops during that period. You should be looking at the drops during the periods when there's people in the buy box. So there's many different ways to interpret the drops data. But when the drops data does get skewed, and the BSR in general gets skewed, is when it's part of a variation set, because they usually all share the BSR data. So that's when it kind of starts getting confusing. I hope you got value out of this video. If you did, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. If you want to sign up for Astro, it's in the description below. You can sign up for a free trial. If you want to get access to me and other sellers, join the Telegram group. There's a lot of conversations going on, a lot of people helping each other achieve success, and a lot of people really hitting their goals and achieving milestones every single day. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.